today like I'm going to give the walkthrough of the Jira board. So I told in the very beginning, so all the requirement will be stored in a project management tool, so called as in Jira. So Jira is not a one and only project management tool. So like we will be having n number of project management tool, but all the project management tool follow the base principle of an agile. Okay, so when it is of an agile, so like we are going to like deliver a product in epic level, okay, or we can say epic wise. So epic wise is nothing but we call it as an feature. So as I told in an agile, so we don't have any fixed requirement, so the new requirement will be keep on adding. So that is the reason in each and every update, so in each and every application, so we are getting new functionality or new feature is added up. So initially they will launch the application with some base functionality, and post that like during each and every update, so they will be keep on adding n number of feature over it. Okay, so basically right, so we are going to work in a feature level. So a single feature can contain multiple user story, and all the features are stored in a place called as an product backlog. Okay, so the business analyst will segregate everything in a feature wise, and it will be stored in the product backlog, and under each and every feature, so like we will be having multiple user stories mapped. Okay, so one and only if you complete all the user stories, so it indicates like you have completed that one particular feature. Okay, so now let me just navigate to the Jira board. So in a Jira board, like you could able to see an option called as an backlog, so which we call it as a product backlog, and under which like they will be creating multiple epics. So as of now, like I have added only one epic called as an Amazon payment epic. So let's say, so like the Amazon is planning to add a payment functionality. So in order to develop the payment functionality, so they have created the payment epic, and inside the single epic, like we will be having n number of user story. So for example, if I open this particular epic, so inside this particular epic, so we will be having n number of user story. So one and only if we complete all the user story, it indicates the particular epic is completed. Okay, so we may complete this user story in a single sprint or in a multiple sprint. So generally before starting the project, so every time like we will be having some timeline. Okay, so if we just go to the timeline tab, so where we can able to see, so like what is the plan for each and every sprint. So they will be splitting up the multiple sprints. So we may have the sprint 1, sprint 2, sprint 3, etc. And under each and every sprint, so they will be mapping the plan. So plan is nothing but here under the LM sprint 3. So they told they will be starting the Amazon payment epic. So and the Amazon payment epic is going to carried out till the sprint 4. So which is nothing but within this sprint 3 and 4, they should complete all the epic. So likewise, they will be planning the activity epic wise. So either they can complete the entire epic in a single sprint or in a multiple sprint. So as I told, like before starting the project, so they will be planning the sprint duration. So the sprint duration can be either the 2-week sprint or the 3-week sprint or the 4-week sprint. So whenever just you click on the sprint, so like you could be able to see, so when the sprint will start and when the sprint will end. So which is nothing but within this planned date, so we need to complete the all planned user story. Okay, so I told in an agile, so very beginning, like we will be having the call called as an planning call. So in a planning call, so like we are going to decide, so what are the user story which we are going to work for that particular sprint. Okay, so the business analyst is going to elaborate each and every user story. So which is nothing but, so under this particular epic, so we are having n number of user story. Okay, so the business analyst will elaborate each and every user story. So they will go through story by story, and they will explain us so what we need to develop and what we need to test. Okay, so once they complete the elaboration, then we need to provide the story point. So like here there is an option called as a story point. So like the business analyst will ask the development effort, and they will be asking the testing effort. So based on that, they will be allocating the overall story point, and they will be mapping the sprint. So in which sprint, like we are going to like start this user story. So which is nothing but assume that, so currently we are working on the sprint number 4. So which means they will be mapping the particular user story to the current sprint. Okay, so likewise, so they will be explaining each and every user story, and post explaining, so we will be allocating the story point, and we will be mapping the particular sprint. So which is nothing but, so now the user story will be moved from the product backlog to the sprint backlog. So what is meant by sprint backlog in the sense, so whatever the user story which is planned for that particular sprint, or also the sprint is also called as an iteration for the particular iteration. So we call it as an sprint backlog. Okay, so which is nothing but we need to complete all planned activities, or not all planned activities, all planned user story within the start and the end of the sprint. So where the sprint backlog will be available in the sense, there is an option called as an board. So if you navigate to the board, so whatever the user story which we have planned, so everything will be available over here. So let's assume like we have planned 2 user story in this particular sprint. Okay, so now all the planned user story will be available in the sprint backlog. So now this, they call it as a dashboard. So this dashboard is specific for that particular sprint. So every time or every day, like we will be having another called as an stand up call, or something called as an scrum call, or daily status call. So what the scrum master used to do, so the scrum master used to share the screen, and he will project this dashboard. Okay, so from this dashboard, like we will get to know, so what is the progress of the planned user story. Okay, so initially like every user story will be in to-do status. So like if you are starting the any of the activity, so then we will be moving to the in progress. Okay, so here we will be having the transparency, and the scrum master will get to know, so who is working on the particular user story. Okay, so here you could see, so the assignee name will be there. So if the developer is working, so the developer name will be there. If the tester is working, the tester name will be there. Okay, so generally, right, how it will be like, so let me just change the status in the real-time way. Okay, so like initially, like we will be having 3 tabs. Okay, so let it be like let it be of a new. Okay, so the new in the sense, so the particular user story is not picked by anyone, and pose that like it will be in development and in testing, and it is done. Okay, so this is the status which used to look like. So when the particular user story is in development, so the scrum master will ask the development team, so when they will complete the development activity of the particular sprint. So once they complete the development activity, as I told yesterday, so the developers will change the status, and they will be changing the user story status to the ready for acceptance. So once it is ready for QA. So once it is ready for QA, so then the development team, the testing team will pick, and now the status of the user story will be in testing. So then the scrum master will question the testing team, so who is working on it, and when we will be completing, so and do we have any issues or any other challenges, or are we waiting for any of the clarification. So all the things, so he will get rectified. So once we complete all the activities, so then finally we will move the user story status to the ready for acceptance. Okay, so generally in an agile, so we will be having the transparency. So we will get to know so who is working on the particular user story. Okay, so if we open the particular user story under a particular user story, so we can create n number of subtasks. Okay, for example, here I have created the user story called as an customer account validation, and inside which like we are created the multiple subtasks. So like for analysis, the development team has created one subtask. For development activity, they have created one subtask. For creating the test design, we have created one subtask. So in similar way, like if you are planning to do the execution, so for QA execution, so like we can create one subtask. So in the post completing the testing activity, if the BA is going to review our test evidence, so then the BA can create one subtask. Okay, so one and only if all the subtask is completed, we can say the particular user story is completed. So once the development team analyze the user story, so they will be marking the status to done. And once they complete the development activity, so like they will be moving to the done. So now if you have done the test design, so we can done. If the execution is in progress, then we can change the status to in progress. Okay, so from the particular user story, the scrum master will get a clear picture. So what are the bending activities which are related to the particular user story? So that is what I told in an agile. So we always have the transparency, so we will get to know so what everyone is working on. Okay, so likewise, so if a particular sprint starts, so all the relevant user story will be displaying in the dashboard. Or else like if you have opened the backlog, okay, so here we will be having some section called as in sprint 1, sprint 2, sprint 3, etc. So if you open the particular sprint, so whatever the user story which we have completed in the particular sprint, all the user story will be available under the particular sprint. So if you are unable to complete the planned user story in one sprint, so then they will be moving the user story from one sprint to the other sprint. The process we call it as an carry forward, or we call it as an spillover. Okay, so generally in an agile, so like we will be having the transparency. So if you go to the backlog, so everywhere it will be stored in a epic wise. So or else like for better understanding, so let me just open one flow diagram. Okay, so like this is the flow diagram, so which I told, right? So like initially, so we will be having a product backlog. So where like we will be mentioning everything in a epic level requirement, and each and every epic will have a multiple user story. Okay, and either we can plan to complete the user story in a single sprint or or in a multiple sprint. So whenever the user story is planned for the particular sprint, so then we can say it is available in the sprint backlog. So when something is available in the sprint backlog, so within the planned date we should complete the particular user story. And inside the each and every user story, so we will be having the acceptance criteria. Okay, so what is mean by acceptance criteria? So for example, let me open one particular user story. Okay, so like let's say, so this is the particular user story called as an customer account validation. Okay, so like I will explain the epic ones. So what we are going to do in the epic. So in this particular epic, so the Amazon is going to introduce the pay later option. Okay, so like in order to enable the pay later option, they have come up with 3 user story. So one is like the first user story called as a customer account validation, and second is like so the integration of pay later option, and third is like notification to the customer. So when you open the first user story, okay, so like they are going to do the customer account validation. So which means they are not going to enable the Amazon Pay for pay later option for all the customers. So they have certain conditions. So stating that the user should complete the KYC validation, the user should be a prime member, and pay later will be enabled only for the existing customers. So which is like the account should be like 3 months old account. So likewise they have specified the condition, so which we call it as an acceptance criteria. Okay, and we are going to test this acceptance criteria. So like we need to verify this acceptance criteria, and in order to test this acceptance criteria, so what are the possible scenarios are there? We are going to derive all possible scenarios as part of the test design. Okay, so like it says, so the user should complete the KYC validation. So which means like, so we can check so whether the account has completed the KYC validation. If the KYC validation completed, so then we need to check whether the pay letter option is enabled. If the user is not completed the KYC verification, then the pay letter should not be enabled, even though he is a prime member. So likewise, we are going to derive all possible combination. Okay, so whatever they mention inside the user story, so we call it as an acceptance criteria. So generally we are going to test the acceptance criteria, and in order to test the acceptance criteria, we are going to derive the all possible scenarios. So that is what we are doing as part of the test design. And like where we are going to do the test design in the sense, so even like we are going to do the test design only inside the Jira board. So like in a traditional way, so like very olden days, so we may have used the Excel sheet, and with the help of the Excel sheet we may integrate, we may upload the Excel sheet inside the particular user story. But nowadays, like we are using the BDD approach, so with the help of an BDD we can do the test design. So in the next session, so like we are going to discuss about the test design process. So how we are going to do the test design, how we are going to map the particular test scenario to the respective user story, how we are going to pass the scenario, how we are going to fail the scenario, and in case if you fail the scenario, so how we are going to communicate to the developers, which is nothing but how we are going to rise the defects. Okay, so these are the things which we are going to discuss. And apart from that, like I told right at the end, like we will be having the retrospection call. So even inside the Jira board, so there will be a workspace for a retrospection, so where we can highlight, so like what went well, what didn't went well, or if you have any improvement, so or any suggestion, so we can add our comments over there at the end of the sprint. So the scrum master will share the dashboard, and they will conduct the retrospection, so they will be getting the feedback on each and every one. Okay, so all the relevant information will be available in the project management tool. So in an agile, so we won't create the test plan, but as part of the software testing lifecycle, so as part of the STLC, so the test plan is one of the phase. But in an agile, we won't create the test plan because here the requirement are not fixed. So they can add new epic at any time. So for example, they may have planned one epic in the particular sprint. Yes, the changes requirement is possible. Even based upon the business priority, they can plan the particular epic to upcoming sprint, and they can add a new epic to the current sprint. Okay, so that is why we are using the agile. That is the advantage of the agile. So the change in requirement is possible. But whereas in a waterfall model, so the requirement is fixed, so the change in requirement is not possible. So that is why, so everywhere we are using the agile. Okay, another thing is like agile is transparency in nature. So like we will get to know, so like what everyone is working, and as we are having the regular connect. Okay, so if there is even any issues or blocker, so as we are having the regular connect, so everything can be rectified either on the same day or the next day. So by the way, the Scrum Master will always ensure so the project is running in a cyclic way, so without any interruption. Okay, and apart from that, like the Scrum Master will also have some other call called as a sprint review call, or we can call it as a mid iteration check. So I told the sprint is also called as an iteration. So if you have the 15 days of the sprint, at the mid of the sprint, the Scrum Master will schedule a call, and he will check like are we good to complete all the plan user story. So if we have any complexity, so we should highlight those complexity during that call, and we should not highlight at the end of the sprint. So we should not say to the Scrum Master that we could not able to complete. So if there is any practical challenges, or if there is any difficulty from the development side or testing side, so they should highlight everything. So during the either the sprint planning call, sorry, not a sprint planning call, so during the daily Scrum call, or during the mid iteration call, or else like we can always feel free to reach the Scrum Master. We can highlight our issues, whatever the challenges we have, so we can highlight to the scrum master immediately, so that they will be aware of it. So like the testing team is having this issue, the development is having this issue, so that is the reason they are unable to complete the activities, and they will be having the valid justification point. So at the end of the sprint, like if you go back to them and if we say we can't complete them, so then they won't accept it. Okay, because in an agile, so we should always have the transparency. If you have any practical difficulty, so we should speak up. So we should highlight everything in an agile. So that is what I told. So the agile is an transparency in nature. So everywhere they are using the agile in the project.